Hey guys, and welcome back to Hyrule Park. This is episode 6 of the series where I am attempting to build a Legend of Zelda inspired theme park in Planet Coaster 2. In this episode, we are finally leaving Castletown and venturing off out to Goron City to get that area started. And what better way to get Goron City started than to build Death Mountain as the focal point. So for this, I really wanted Death Mountain to be this ominous presence throughout anywhere you're at in the park, or almost anywhere at least. So because of this, I wanted to make sure I had a good spot for the mountain to live and make sure that guests would have some view of it in most areas of the park that we have built so far, which is only one area, but still. So what I did was I created this sort of in-game ruler type deal using the 4-meter high wall pieces and just stacking them up so that I can easily add up what's the height and then build the mountain based off of that. So yeah, just sort of put the ruler in a couple spots, popped down to guest view and walked around and saw if I would be able to actually notice the ruler at the height in that plot of land. And yeah, with that, I had the spot where I wanted to start building from. But that was the easy part. Now we get to building this monster of a project. It was definitely intimidating to get started on for sure, not gonna lie. Basically, I used a couple reference images just to get an idea of how I hoped it could sort of look when all was said and done. Then just sort of started sculpting away with the terraforming tool. And this was for sure a trust the process type sculpting session. It was looking pretty sad at first, as you can probably see in spots here and there. But we got there eventually. You know, we got to a point where we were looking at what seemed to be at least a sort of foundation for a volcano centerpiece for Goron City. And once I got that, I really wasn't totally sure what I should go to next. Like, should I create some variants of boulder clusters that could look like cliffs and rotate and scale up and down and place along the terraformed Death Mountain to make it look more realistic? Did I want to just leave this as is and start building Goron City around it, maybe a coaster layout interacting with this sort of stage 1 version of Death Mountain, and then save the details for a different session? So yeah, this is one of these moments where I was just kind of like frozen with overwhelmed thoughts of what to do next. So instead, what I ended up doing to get more grounded in this area and kind of sort my thoughts out a bit was going with just the area entrance and using this stage 1 of Death Mountain as, you know, the focal point of the area for sure. But yeah, I figured that would be a good way to go about it because at least now I have an anchor point for the area. Now I can go about theming and staging scenes and whatnot, and the details surrounding Death Mountain can sort of come from blending all of that into the mountain, if that makes any sense. So with the city entrance gate, this sort of came together relatively easy, at least in terms of the structure of the thing. The font and lettering was a bit of a different story. I cut out a lot of experimentation with that part. I ended up with sort of a cool sign in the end, even if I'm not totally sold on the lettering part of it. I really wish we had like different textures for lettering. Like for this one in particular, obviously it would have been really cool to have like stone letters, but that's probably very, very, very low on the frontier priority list for updates and additions to the game. So I'm not expecting that to be anything that comes out at all. Never mind anytime soon. So this is what I got so far. And then you'll see I also tried out using marble pieces for like the backdrop for the lettering. I ended up pretty quickly swapping that out for actual rock pieces instead. That flat edge variant, which I think looks a lot better and more fitting for the whole sign gate thing, and matches Goron City a lot better than the marble does. So again, happy with the end result for the gate. Might revisit the lettering in the future, but also I think it works for this. Yeah, we'll see when I have more details around it if it stands out as sort of a piece of the sign that doesn't belong in the area, but for now we will take it.
And honestly, that's kind of where I left off for a while. I'm actually, you might be able to tell with my nasally voice, as I'm pretty sick right now, or I'm trying to get over sickness. My whole family is right now. But yeah, I'm actually re-recording the voiceover from this point on because I completely scrapped the Goron City I initially built for this episode, for the most part. Yeah, you know how sometimes you just kind of hit a wall where the build just isn't clicking. You know, you see what you want in your head, but it's just not on the screen, or what is on the screen, and it just isn't what you're envisioning. That's where I was with this whole area. Ultimately, it felt rushed. The layout wasn't making sense to me in the end. I realized I needed to step away for a bit instead of forcing it like I was trying to do with that initial go. So yeah, right now I'm showing some time-lapse footage of some of the pieces I was creating for that first go at Goron City that I ended up keeping and utilizing in this reimagining of the area. But other than that, you'll probably see or notice some of the old stuff in this footage, like that flat ride placement. There's that big hot spring in the center. the path layout, that sort of thing, all scrapped. So yeah, other than like these pieces you're seeing here and Death Mountain itself and the entrance gate, or the sign, I'm pretty much scrapping all that other stuff that you're seeing. And you'll see the new kind of reimagining of this area in a couple minutes. So yeah, and that's why this episode is so far after my last one that I released. Well, part of the reason anyway. The other issue was not just like in-game stuff slowing me down. Real life kind of went full throttle these past few weeks, this past month or whatever. My wife and I have been in full-on house hunting mode, so yeah, and that actually turned into buying a completely new place, new house, while also getting our current house ready to list. So yeah, a lot of boxes and packing and cleaning in my life lately. And then also my brother got married, and I was the best man, which meant like preparing a speech, rehearsing. I recorded a cover of their first dance song that they asked me to do for their reception. So between all of that, the move, a surge of work projects that popped up, I just haven't had the free time to build like I've wanted to, and get another episode out. But honestly, it was probably a blessing in disguise. Stepping away might have been, sort of the best thing that could have happened for this area, I think. Because when I came back to Goron City and looked at everything with the fresh eyes that I had at that point, like I said, I kept the entrance gate. I kept some of the building variants that you saw earlier, just a second ago, but tore almost everything else down. The layout, the pathways, just gone. I even went ahead and tweaked the coloration of the rocks too. It's subtle. You might be able to notice, you might not be able to, but yeah, it was a little painful because I literally had the entire episode ready to release like a month ago. But yeah, I just wasn't happy with it. So yeah, it was a little painful, but it gave me a chance to rebuild with a way more intentional way, way more cohesion throughout the whole area, I think. Because I ultimately wanted this to really feel like Goron City, like dense, warm, carved into mountain, rather than just kind of like plopped on top of a area I decided where Goron City was going to be. I wanted the whole thing to feel connected to Death Mountain, which is really the only original part of this area's footprint. Like I said, it's one of the only things I kept, and it's like the main part of the area, right? It's the weenie of the area. I think I used that term correctly. But yeah, I'm excited to show how this new version starts to come together. You're seeing right now I'm building like more intentional QSR area, a more tight corridor that kind of allows the Goron City feel to kind of come alive, I think, in terms of like the carved out cliff sort of vibe. But yeah, I'm excited to show how this new version starts to come together for sure. But yeah, anyway, let's jump back into it, I guess, with this new footage that you're seeing. Like I said, a lot of changes from the original layout I had going at first. Initially, I had that large hot spring that you're seeing in the center of the area. I was thinking initially of doing like sort of an Epcot style pathway around like a central body of water. Like that's the idea I was going for. But I just was not liking how it ended up working in the end. I really felt like this place needed more like narrow corridors, like I said, like when I'm doing with this spot right here. Just more of that throughout that would allow like the cliff-like walls and stones to make up the character of the city. And then I could throw in some smaller hot springs around the area to kind of like fill that kind of like check mark of like a Goron City must-have, or hot springs in my mind anyway. Yeah, and one thing I really wanted out of this area was to theme it up similarly to like Galaxy's Edge, like something like Galaxy's Edge. How they have like those bizarre type walkways where it's like you're engrossed in that area of the park. It's like enclosed and like you just feel like you're there. That's how I wanted it to feel in Goron City in this park. Like you step into it and you're there. It's not just like an offshoot of the Castletown area. It's like its own region type of deal. And yeah, it was just something I needed to take a step back and rework it in the game. Like I said, I had it in my head to some extent from the jump. I wasn't going to get it the way I really wanted it in that original layout. So this corridor is going to be like the one of the entry points into the city. Then to the right, I'll create another corridor of sorts. Maybe I think I end up going with a bit more like elevated land. I obviously don't have it completely built out, which is funny because, like I said, I had this whole episode recorded and ready to go, ready to publish like a month ago, and I had the entire Goron City built. But like for this one that I'm releasing now, I just have this like left corridor basically in like the entrance gate. So I mean, that right there just tells me, yeah, I was totally rushing the area that first attempt. So, anyways, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I'm going with this kind of left-hand side as one entry point. It's like a tight corridor. The other one, I'm probably going to use some elevation changes, just slight elevation changes, maybe some cave work to kind of get that mine shaft type feel that you get from Goron City in the Zelda series, and kind of go from there. Definitely want to have some flat rides in this area, and definitely want to have rides in general, because I feel like so far I've built the Temple of Time drop tower, and I literally think that's the only ride I've built in this park. I've said in the past though, like when I play this game for the theming and kind of like the building and the creative kind of output this gives you in terms of like creating an environment in different scenes. But yeah, it's a theme park. I obviously want to incorporate some rides in there, and I do want to improve on things like my coaster building and layouts and stuff. So I think, don't hold me to it, but I think I'll start working on a minecart coaster for this area in the next episode. If not the next episode, the next 1 or 2 episodes. Yeah, I kind of am going off on a tangent again, and I lost my train of thought again. But anyways, like my whole deal here is to keep it tight, to keep it immersive, to keep things kind of centered in this Goron City vibe. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to take it like one by one in terms of like the areas that I'm building. I'm not just like rushing to get a whole thing done and get a video out. I'm taking my time and thinking about it and making it Goron City the way like I'm envisioning in my head. So that's what I'm attempting to do anyway. I started the other part of this area that I finished up was this restaurant. Not something I initially intended to have, but I had like this carved out as I was just kind of like messing around and fiddling around and kind of riffing on some of the terraforming tools. I ended up with this like carved out little section of the cliff. Wasn't really totally sure what to do with the area or even keep that carved out section, but then I kind of had the idea of doing like a Goron themed restaurant, and maybe not even a restaurant. It's sort of, I guess it's a restaurant, but just like a, small little thing here, to kind of, again, give the carved out cliff vibes of Goron City. So that's what I'm doing here. And other elements that I really wanted to incorporate in Goron City was like the things from Tears of the Kingdom, in Breath of the Wild. The Goron City versions of Goron City in those games had a lot of like rope and like, kind of like hanging lanterns and stuff. So kind of wanted to get that going. You won't see it as much here, but yeah, definitely going. I mean, I guess you do in that little kind of like shop corridor, but something I'm definitely planning on incorporating to kind of, again, bring that immersion in to make it feel like you are in a Goron City area. So yeah, other than that, like I said, it's a lot of kind of like riffing after this restaurant in that little corridor. So not sure how much I'll actually show in this episode or if I'll save some of it for the next one, but I think for now I'm gonna give my little sickly voice a break here, and just like let the time-lapse footage play out. As always, if you guys have any ideas as you're watching this for a Goron City area, a ride idea, definitely need some flat ride ideas to kind of fill in the space. But yeah, if you have any ideas, any thoughts, any feedback, please let me know. I always appreciate reading comments. So yeah, let me know what you think. Stick around for the rest of this footage, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one, where I think, like I said, don't hold me to it, but I think I'm going to start on a coaster in the next episode. If not next episode, then the one after that, I believe. So yeah, any thoughts, any feedback that you have, leave them down in the comments. Don't be shy. Make sure you like and subscribe on the way out if you're not subscribed yet. Gonna get back to doing this more regularly, I hope, once the whole house situation settles down. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Later.
Bye.